Arizona, it's Kari Lake, and I wanted to update you on what's happening in our fight against Arizona's sham elections and those who run them. For starters, I want you to know that I am firmly in this fight with you. Maricopa County just couldn't wait to certify their botched election. The botched election where half of Election Day voting centers were inoperable. The botched election where Election Day printers caused mayhem across the county.
An advocate for whatever improvements that the county can do, but also as a state level, we should all work together. We have a new governor who's already been welcomed by our current governor. We have an incoming attorney general who's already had a discussion with our current attorney general. The state of Arizona has voted on a bipartisan basis and wants their elected officials to work together to get things done. And I intend to be a pivotal and hopefully central member of that process. I will do anything to help improve our election system here in Arizona. Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Hello, hello, hello. My name is NicholassRivas. I talk about politics and stuff. And today we're going to be talking about how Kari Lake just got slammed by the GOP of Arizona. They basically just came out and said, look, there's no fraud. There's no fraudulent claims here. Kari Lake is full of shit. Even with the errors of the voting machines, having the machines shut down, having the long lines. These are things that were fixed or addressed during this GOP majority meeting, where they basically said there's nothing. There's not. The Arizona GOP said there's no claims here, and so Kari Lake has nothing to stand on. Even her own party is saying there's no leverage here. There's no we side with her, or let's look into it. She can sue all she wants. They just look like they're doing the same shit from 2020 when they had the audits and the lawsuits that led nowhere. The audit proved, if anything, that Joe Biden got more votes. So this is just the same rhetoric. They're just doing it for I guess like clout at this point. I'm trying to figure out, even still, I think I've come to the conclusion that look, we know there's no fraud. They've looked into the fraud. They couldn't find fraud. People of their own party, people of their own state went through the means of what they had to do, and they found nothing. So now it's like they know they're not going to win. There's no chance of winning, yet she's still telling people that we're fighting, we're going to get to the bottom of this, when in reality she just wasn't the popular candidate as she thought she was, and the Democratic Party was better than what they expected, and Trump isn't as viable as a candidate. Like, that makes more sense, rather than you had these oath keepers outside of every ballot box pretending that they were watching people, when in reality it was more intimidation. But you had people staring. You had people physically looking to see if there was any fraud. Then when the system went down, you had checks and balances that just, hey, a mistake has occurred. And then you had these long lines. Well, you can point at the GOP of Arizona was the one to cause it, shutting down ballots, places to vote in areas that it would have affected them, and it's affecting them. So you could definitely point and pin down where issues have occurred, and these have been addressed, and these have been fixed, or at the very least proven not to be some sort of fraudulent, malicious cabal controlling it, right? So you hear this and think, well, what's the point of them still fighting? Like, is Kari Lake just that dense? She may be, but I think she's politically more sound. And I think this is her, because the only other people who are doing this is Trump. This is her sort of, I stand with you, Trump. I will do whatever need be. Because I think if they literally had God come down and say, Kari Lake, you lost, but I'm going to give you a chance to accept the governor's seat through divine intervention, she would take it. She would take it and say, yeah, like, I don't care that I lost. Like, there's no integrity with these people. Trump would have just taken the office if given, even though he lost. He don't give a shit. And you can say that maybe about most people. Personally, I have integrity. I would not do that. I take over what the democracy gives us. But they don't believe that. And so now it's clicking to me like, yeah, none of these people believe in that shit. None of these Republicans do. They are okay. I've asked people in my life, who are really big Trump fans. And I said, like, if Trump tried to make himself king, would you allow that? Like, are you okay with it? And they said, yeah, I don't want no king. But if it's Trump, like, people have made the exception. They like him that much. So I definitely think him and his cult and his people and himself truly believe that if he was elected and became this God Emperor Trump, they would be okay with that. Or sorry, if he was never elected, they would be okay with God Emperor Trump status if it meant that their team, their policies, their people. I mean, I give them the credit for the conviction, because I like to think that I would do the same in some capacity. Like, if it was like I had an opportunity to make pro-choice the law of the land, even though it wasn't as popular as it was, or if it is, not saying, or real life, taking from that, like say pro-choice was not popular, but I was the god emperor and I would make it, I would, but then I'm like, I have integrity. I want democracy. So I don't even like to compare myself with these idiots. I think they're all just corrupt monsters. They're Mussolinis. They're dictators. And yeah, so I'm glad the GOP took a stand. I'm glad the GOP is pressing down on Kari Lake. She has no feet to stand on, right? And that's a sign. Like if the military took with Trump when January 6th occurred, we could have been a different story. We would have probably had a dictatorship right now. But I'm glad we have these checks and balances. I'm glad we have some people with integrity. I mean, it's scary to see how thin the line is to bring to a dictatorship of sorts, but and that's why we keep fighting, and that's why we keep making sure these idiots don't get elected. Because given the opportunity, I think she would have not certified the results if she had the power, right? Like if she was able to, she would have not, and that's a scary person there. Those are dictators. So I'm glad the GOP slammed her. I'm glad these idiots are still fought in, because they're just going to show where they are. And it's very unpopular. Given what Trump is doing, he has proven himself to be unpopular, that people like their checks and balances. People like the government to extent that it's doing its job at the very least, certifying results. So with places like Cochise County not trying to certify, but then you have the GOP saying, look, there's no reason not to. We looked into it. It gives us confidence that we're not going to be bogged down by fictional politics, that there's some sense of democracy even still within the Republican Party. So beautiful. Love it. Thank you all. Have a good one.